When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle. Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish,
the podcast that reminds you to shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll suffocate in the darkness that is empty space.
Oh, yeah. No one can hear you scream. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
And we're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality. And today, Kyle,
we're gonna what?
I'm running out of ways to say the intro. Like, it's just like, how many possible ways are there to say it?
I think you go for the same. You go for consistency rather than difference.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I get to have the fun in the beginning, not you.
I'm glad we had this chat.
Okay, me too. We're going to talk about roller derbies.
We're going to talk about roller derby. Roller derby. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Very gay. That's the premise of this episode. It's very gay.
Well, that's what we're here to talk about.
Yep.
But first,
hope everyone had a good Christmas.
Yeah, happy Boxing Day, colonials.
Or Christmas Day if you're on Patreon and you get this a day early. If you support and love us, then you get this a day early on Christmas.
That's right. As Jesus would want.
Yep. Unwrap our present. We're here for you on this of holiest days.
Yep. Great. That was fun. Next, do we have any feedback or corrections? I feel like we should.
Oh, well, we already addressed this in the pre-show meeting where we said we didn't have any, but do you have any new ones that came in the past 20 seconds?
I just want people to know that we talk about it every time.
We do check in every single time to see if there's any feedback to read. So if you left us feedback and we didn't read it, then we didn't like it.
Right. Exactly right. Thank you for telling them, Kyle.
I mean, there's that.
Okay, fine. Here's the news. Shut your mouth hole. It's time for your ear holes. News the first, Kyle. Sensational gay media. They can't be trusted. They're
okay.
Like the lamestream queer escape is just looking for clicks.
What did they do?
Well, The Advocate posted an article called Vatican Adds Event for LGBTQ plus Catholics to Holy Year Calendar. And I thought, fuck yeah, that's crazy. I need to know more about that. And it's not really true.
What is it then?
Well, okay. So the Catholic Holy Year begins on Christmas Eve and it runs through January 6th, 2026 as a Jubilee. And a Jubilee happens every 25 years. And it is a celebratory year of remission and universal pardons. And groups can do pilgrimages to a sacred site. And if you go to Rome, you can pass through the holy doors that will be left open at 4 of the basilicas in Rome. So La Tenda di Giannata, Jonathan's Tent, is an Italian association for LGBTQ plus Christians. And they asked the Vatican, would it be okay for us to walk through your doors on whatever date next year? And the Vatican said, okay, and put them on the calendar.
So gays are walking through the doors that anyone's allowed in through.
Well, you have to get a slot.
Oh.
But the thing is, it made it sound like there was going to be some like movable feast for the Holy Year that was going to like exalt gay people. No, this just like, okay, you can walk through our doors, faggots. And
yeah, it sounded like there'd be a day of feasting for just the gays where they serve water and ice cubes to all the twinks because that's all we eat.
And rosé to everyone else.
And rosé, yeah.
Yeah, instead of Jesus crackers and wine, it would be rosé and like, I don't know, Quaaludes or prep pills.
Prep for Doxy Pep for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to take my Doxy Pep. Shit. Okay.
And Jesus said, take this, for it is my body, and you have recently taken it.
Take this, for the body you took recently is not me. And you got to make up for it somehow, you slut.
Yeah. The Holy Spirit is inside you.
As is his jizz still.
Oh, we're going to hell, Kyle. Anyway, on September 6th this year at 3 p.m., the organization is going to gather in Rome, quote, to share our message of inclusion, love, and faith. We will invite all associations and groups dedicated to supporting LGBTQ plus individuals and their families to join us as we officially cross the holy door of the Jubilee at St. Peter's Basilica. The Vatican quickly made it clear that the church does not necessarily support the group just by including them in this, that anyone can organize a pilgrimage. They are not sponsored activities.
Of course, they got to make it. They got to remind everyone that they're not super down with gay people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, you can walk through our door, I guess.
Yeah, enter our hole.
Enter our hole. Anyway, fucking, they got me, Kyle. Gotcha media.
Yeah.
News the second. So there has been another school shooting, this time in Wisconsin. There was one teacher and a teenage student that died in that. 6 others were injured. The shooter has been identified as 15-year-old student Natalie Rupnow, who apparently also sometimes went by the name Samantha. She later died from a self-inflicted injury. But what's crazy about this story, and the reason that I include it, is that the local law enforcement has asked everyone to stop speculating that she was transgender.
Oh, interesting.
So a right-wing
That's interesting on a couple
point,
levels. Like the law enforcement is on the side of like non-speculation, huh?
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Because I mean, it is mostly the right that is saying, "Oh, she's a trans lefty crazy," and that's you can't trust those trans folks. And the police are saying, well, quote, this is Sean Barnes, who is the police chief. Said, quote, "I don't know whether the shooter was trans or not," he said. "I don't think that whatever happened today has anything to do with how she or he or they may have wanted to identify. I wish people would leave their own personal biases out of this. Whether or not she was, he was, they were, trans is something that may come out later. But for what we're doing right now, 8 hours after a mass shooting, it is of no consequence." And
where did they get the idea that she was trans? What was there something that spurred that?
I think it's that it is so noteworthy that she is a she, that it is a female presenting person with a female name. That happens so infrequently. The vast majority of shootings in this country are perpetuated by male identified people.
Yeah.
That
usually white men.
Yes, usually white men. So that combined with the bizarre political climate that we're in right now led people, especially on the right, to speculate that she wasn't really, quote unquote, really a she, that she must be a crazy trans lefty, a dude in a dress with a gun. It's, yeah.
They'll just invent anything they want to try to discount trans people or try to blame trans people for something. Like, trans people are just there minding their own business, and they're just fabricating any kind of story or lie that they want to, just to try to get them to be the cause of something bad.
Yep. Well, and the other thing is, she might be trans. So fucking what? Trans people can be real and valid and do horrible things too. That might be the case. But in fact, this article, they pointed out that the Washington Post had done an analysis in March of 2023 that said, given the data available and the definition of a mass shooting as involving a minimum of 4 victims, trans people should be expected to have committed at least 16 mass shootings since 2018. And instead, there are just 3 possible cases cited by conservatives. So there have been 3 trans mass shootings, when, like, by the numbers percentage wise, there should be 16. So they're like underperforming, if you want to say the fucked up way.
I think cis people are overrepresented when it comes to mass shootings.
Right. Yeah. And but even if this girl in Wisconsin is trans, that would make number 4 still dramatically under the rate that could be the case if there was equal representation there. And I don't know that I fucking care, Kyle. Who who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. Underperforming.
I don't know.
I know what you mean. Oh, Jesus.
I will circle back to this story if that is ever determined, especially if it's determined that had something to do with the motive, because it is not inconceivable that this would be a trans girl who was struggling with her transition and was being bullied by shitbag kids that she was going to school with. But that's all speculation, and I don't want to go any further with that until there's actual facts to report.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and then news the last. I love this story, Kyle. So Odessa, Texas has had a bumpy past when it comes to trans rights in the last year or so. And in October, they voted to implement a harsh anti-trans bathroom bill, of course. But then in November at the election, they voted out the mayor. They voted out a couple of city council members and replaced one of them with the city's first out gay council member.
Wow.
Yeah. Craig Stoker, the executive director for Meals on Wheels in Odessa, won his November election for at-large city council member with 56% of the vote. Trump won 76% of the vote in the same county. And his campaign was infrastructure, specifically said that we need to focus on roads and garbage pickup. The incumbent that he ran against and won apparently ran on nothing but the fact that he was gay. She sent out mailers that said their positions, and they had exactly the opposite positions on every position that she listed, and listed their only similarity as the fact that they're both in relationships with men.
That's kind of funny framing of that.
Yep. We got that in common, I guess.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He's a homosexual, everybody. I just want you to know.
Yeah. Just FYI, in case your bigoted asshole needs a reason not to vote for him, here you go. But it didn't work.
The mayor strongly supported the trans bathroom ban, stating that it was, quote, important to prioritize the safety and privacy of the majority, but then lost his re-election bid to Cal Hendrick, who campaigned on repairing infrastructure. Basically, the county, although extremely, extremely conservative, was basically, we don't give a fuck, fix the roads, you assholes.
Yeah, we don't care about trans people. Just make our lives better. Do something that has any consequence instead of just randomly picking on a group of people to try to make their lives shitty.
Yep, absolutely. Anyway, sometimes even in the worst places in the world, well, the needle moves in the right direction.
I mean, Texas isn't okay. I get it.
It's just not what you expect, Kyle.
It's just not what you would expect. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to try to bring the hope whenever I can, as out of character and difficult as that may be for me to accomplish.
I appreciate that.
That's the news.
Speaking of people we appreciate, I want to thank our following new Patreon members. Thank you to Bill Fisherman.
Bill Fisherman?
Yeah.
Come, I'll make you fishers of men. That's a thing that Jesus said.
Oh.
And then he wandered around in the desert with a bunch of dudes.
Hot.
Gay.
You know they did each other on that wandering. They were
hope
like,
so.
Yeah.
I mean, is it gay if you're just helping a bro out?
It's not gay. You suck a bro's dick. That's fine. And thank you to Kurt. Yeah. Thank you to both for having names that I think this time around I got 100% of the names correct. Kurt is going to be like, I'm sorry, it's Kurt or something. And be like, what the fuck?
This is the last episode of the year, so you're ending in a bang.
Yeah. If you want ad-free episodes a day early, if you want to use Mike's hole, if you want other great benefits, go to patreon.com/gayish podcast.
Do it.
Do you want to talk about roller derbies?
Boy, do I. I want to talk about roller derby. Okay, so this came up as an idea in the happy hour. If you are a Patreon member at any level, you are welcome to join us for our quarterly Zoom Patreon happy hours where we just hang out. We have a beverage and everybody gets to introduce themselves as they want to, and then we chit chat about stuff. Quite often in those conversations, topic ideas will come up, and Derek, because he's a good employee, writes them down and then doesn't forget them, which is what we used to do.
I have lists somewhere in a notebook sitting in a place that like is not on our shared file. So, thanks, Derek.
Thanks, Derek. Anyway, roller derby came up there, but I have to admit I wasn't looking at the list of ideas from our listeners when I was trying to pitch this. Mostly because if you think drag queens have hilarious names, roller derby, they have hilarious names, and I loved every time that I've gone to derby, a match, a round, a bout. And I wanted to talk about it because it seems awfully gay to me.
Yep. We'll talk about whether it's gay or not. I have some gayta that we'll get to.
Have you been before, Kyle? Did we go together? A
long time ago. I don't know I don't remember anything about who I went with or why or what the situation was. I just know I've been to a couple.
Well, get your beeper out. I went when we worked at, so I assumed that it was a Gleam thing and that you were involved somehow, and that we indeed did go together at least once.
Oh, maybe.
I'm glad I can remember so much of your life for you, Kyle.
Thank you. I need it. Can you write me a memoir?
Yeah, I could. I probably could.
On behalf of Derek and the Gayish podcast, I want to say hi to the Kemper roller derby team. I probably didn't say the name of your city correctly, but
Kemper, like the soda.
Kemper? Howdy, Kemper. I'll say it like a Texan.
Kemper.
Roller derby. I hope you win all of your things that you do.
I hope you jam each other real good.
we did some prep work for this to understand. We douched our brains a little bit to understand a little bit about roller derby, but maybe not enough. We'll see.
Well, I do want to talk to you about the history of roller derby, Kyle, because there's a couple of funny things in here that aren't gay at all, but damn if I didn't think that they were funny.
Okay, let's do it.
So, according to the Wikipedia article on the history of roller derby has its origins in, first of all, roller skating has always had this, like, as soon as roller skates were invented, like Industrial Revolution time, have gotten like waxing and waning in popularity. Like roller skating comes back as a fad like every 20 years or so since like the 19th century.
Yeah.
And I remember like in the 90s it was roller blades.
Yes, I had roller blades, and I remember having fights with my mom while she was trying to teach me how to rollerblade. I was so bad at it.
Did she know how to rollerblade? Like what?
Oh.
Was she in a position to be teaching anything?
I mean, who else am I going to learn from if not my parents?
YouTube, like God intended. Although maybe
YouTube didn't exist when I was doing this.
Well, so like a lot of things, we love contests, and roller skating got really popular in the United States, and they started organizing roller skating endurance races as early as 1884. And skater Victor W. Clow, that seems maybe gay, I don't know, but he skated 100 miles over the course of nearly 10 hours in Geneseo, Illinois. But these got out of control. In March of 1885, there was a 6-day long Go As You Please competition at Madison fucking Square Garden in New York City, with 36 skaters competing for $500 in prize money. 2 people died.
Oh my God.
They skated themselves to death. And both the winner...
And I can barely go for a run for 2 miles. These people skated to death.
Yeah. Well, both the winner, William Donovan, and skater Joseph Cohen died shortly after the race was completed. And then everyone was so shocked by that they tried to recommend a law prohibiting roller skating activities longer than 4 hours in length.
Oh my God.
But that didn't work out, and they had a second 6-day race the next year.
They did it again after 2 people died?
Sorry, not the next year. 2 months later, in May.
2 months? They didn't even let the bodies get into the ground before they did another roller skating event. Jesus Christ.
So in 1929, the Great Depression starts. And that's when this guy, Leo Seltzer, who is the undisputed inventor of roller derby, he was a film publicist, and he noticed that one of the crazes at the time, which were dance marathons, that that these dance marathons were super popular all of a sudden because everybody was out of work and there was money involved, and people were like, I'm going to go dance my ass off and win that money so I can eat, because it's the Depression.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in Oregon, and he noticed, or believed anyway, that these dance marathons were taking away from his movie theater revenue.
Wow. People didn't have, instead of going to see a movie, you dance to try to win some GoFundMe money, kind of?
Yep. So he started holding his own dance marathons. He called them walkathons because apparently usually people got so tired they weren't really dancing anymore. They were just kind of shuffling around.
Mm-hmm.
And he had hundreds of unemployed people participating, all hoping to win cash prizes. And apparently he somehow made like $6 million in 3 years running these dances. Then he went to Denver and held a bunch more and had made another $2 million and decided to retire. So then after that, he had a buddy of his reach out to say, in 1935, dance-a-thons, walkathons had worn off, but roller skating was coming back again. And apparently the Seltzer dude read an article in Literary Digest that said 93% of Americans had roller skated at least once in their lives, which it comes and it goes and it comes and it goes. But almost everybody has lived through one of those times when it was up and roller skated for at least some period of time. And he was in Ricketts, which is a restaurant in Chicago's near North Side, and decided to invent a sport incorporating roller skating, or he was challenged to invent a sport that incorporated roller skating. It was just, this is the best idea ever. And so he wrote his ideas down onto a tablecloth and decided to combine 6-day bicycle races and roller skating. And in August of that year, he organized his own transcontinental roller derby, which the balls on that guy to be like, it's the World Series, Kyle.
It's already the first one that we're going to try out. Let's just make it. Let's go big.
Yep. It was at the Chicago Coliseum, and it was a simulation of a cross-country roller skating race in which 25 two-person teams circled a wooden oval banked track thousands of times. They would skate 11 and a half hours a day to cover 3,000 miles.
Oh, I'm just exhausted thinking about that.
The distance between Los Angeles and New York City. So it ended up going to court. He got sued. That a bunch of people got injured or exhausted, but 9 teams did finish. And the U.S. District Court ruled against him when he sued a competitor that was trying to start up a similar thing, and the court was like, "No, you didn't really invent this idea." So he took the derby on the road, and eventually he noticed, as a result of running these things, that there were these huge collisions and crashes that would happen as skaters tried to lap people who were ahead of them, because they were on this one track going around and around and around and around. Sometimes some would get really good and lap everybody, and it would cause these big exciting crashes. And just like fucking NASCAR, that's what people wanted to see. He started noticing that that's when like the crowd got excited.
That's why you go to hockey games, is to see people get in fights.
And so that's really how this format came up, after running all of those races and seeing how excited people were about the crashes, and that it was all because of teams lapping each other. Came up with the idea of roller derby. So this is where we sort of should talk about like the basics of roller derby. It really is a jammer and the blockers, and so you have a team of 5 folks on the course, and one person on each team is the jammer, and that's the person that can score, and they score by lapping everybody. Meanwhile, the blockers are trying to prevent that from happening, and it gets exciting because they're like running into each other and trying to grab onto their jammer and slingshot them forward, and there are colossal crashes that are really pretty interesting. If you've never seen it before, it is very much worth watching. It's a simple game. It's easy to sort of understand what's going on pretty quickly. But yeah, that's sort of it. It, like, roller derby has also gone through like rises and falls in popularity. It was the 1930s that things got sort of big. Roller derby was broadcast on the radio in 1939.
Now that sounds boring. Yeah, I agree that these are fun events to go to, but roller derby on the radio sounds very boring. Like, I mean, I'm going to hear about people crashing into each other instead of seeing it. I don't know.
Aren't all sports on the radio boring? Have you ever? My dad used to listen to baseball games on the radio, and I was like, Jesus fuck this! I can't. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's true.
Although it did give us Harry Carey, who's a hilarious son of a bitch. It was on television as early as 1948, which that's like the early days of television. And there have been like roller derby celebrities and more or less levels of organization and fame that came out of different layers of roller derby. And what I think is super interesting and worth touching on is that there were women in roller derby, and famous women in roller derby, super ass early. One was Midge Tuffy Brassoon. She was called Midge because she was only 4'11", but she was a roller derby skater and she was famous for it. There was a billboard campaign that showed her with green dye on her face asking the question, "Who is Tuffy?" And she also was in a movie in 1949 called Roller Derby Girl. Wow. And in 1950, she was voted one of 10 leading sportswomen by the Sports Writers of America, all just doing fucking roller derby.
Wow, 50s. What are the odds that she's a lesbian?
I think pretty good. Oh, no. Well, she had a son, but that doesn't mean she wasn't a lesbian.
Well, but back in those days to have I guess you can have it from your previous marriage.
Yeah. Now, lots and lots and lots of ladies that are in the roller derby world seem not lesbian, you know?
That's what I have gate on.
Great. Excellent.
So more to come.
Did you ever watch, I'll end with this. Did you ever watch either of the incarnations of roller derby on TV? You might have been too young. There was Roller Games that was in 1989, and that was on US TV. And then there was from January of 99 to January of 2001, there was Roller Jam on CBS. And I remember watching Roller Jam for sure.
No, I never heard of either of those.
Huh. All right. Well, roller derby was a big enough of a deal to be on national television at least 5 different times, different eras, about once a decade, give or take, although it hasn't been on TV since Roller Jam went off the air in 2001. Anyway, that's sort of the history. There has been a lot of all-male roller derby out there, but roller derby in its most successful incarnations seems to have been co-ed or ladies only.
Yeah, which is rare for, I wonder why that is, why the female version is what took off and has stuck around.
I wonder if it's so violent. I wonder if dudes would kill themselves or hurt themselves, or if that was the fear. I don't know. Men's roller derby is still a thing, though. It was the MRDA, the Men's Roller Derby Association, has been around since 2007 and still has 64 men's leagues under its jurisdiction. So it's out there. It is out there.
Wow. Well, I'm going to tell you some gayta from a study called Roller Derby Demographics, results from the second annual comprehensive data collection on skaters and fans. This, unfortunately, is from 2011. That's the only time that I could find any kind of data from.
Okay.
So,
old data is better than no data, Kyle.
Old data is better than none. This is by the Women's Flat.
Is that actually true? I don't know. I might have made that bumper sticker up.
I think when you just have to keep it in mind that things might have changed since then. But things like, how gay are people that watch it, that probably isn't changing. There's probably hasn't been a huge shift in fan demographics. I don't know. I don't know. This is by the Women's Flat Track Derby Association. So to get this data, they got surveys filled out by over 10,000 people, roughly half from fans, half from actual participants, including current skaters, retired skaters, junior skaters, volunteers, and business partners. The survey responses came from fans around the world, but Americans made up 91% of the results.
Sure.
So the fans of roller...
It does seem like something that would be like, it seems uniquely American. Like, and like it is. And just like, what, you want to put roller skates on and run into each other? Fucking stupid Americans. Like that. It seems like something Europeans would not want to put their like hands on, but
they're still on soccer. They're like, why don't you like soccer more? There's far less concussions.
And yet Kemper is doing it. All right.
Go ahead. That's true. Let's see. The gender of the fans, 66% are female and 34% are male.
That's weird.
But higher, lower male viewership than you expected.
It just seems so dumb that dudes would love it. Like
I could see, especially like I could see straight dudes being like, I want to see hot girls smash into each other.
Yeah.
Sweaty and skating around a rink. I can
in shorty shorts and
in short shorts
and sports bras and knee pads. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I love a good knee pad. Sexy ass knee pads. Actually, knee pads. I should buy some knee pads to be like, for when I'm on my knees. Never.
Mm-hmm.
The sexuality of the fans.
The fans. Damn it. Okay.
4 out of 5 fans identify as straight. The remaining identify as LGB or other.
1 out of 5 is 20%. That's high.
Yeah. That's an overrepresentation of LGB fans because, we'd expect it to be closer to like 10%, 5 to 10% if it was in line with national trends. And 50% of fans reported attending 2 or more sports events other than roller derby. So that means that half of the fans don't attend really other sports events. So they are an untapped sporting market. Half the fans are just going to roller derby or only attending like one other sporting event.
It seems like a weird question.
What they were asking that in order to help get more sponsors, to say like, hey, sponsors, just because you're advertising on the NFL or whatever doesn't mean you're capturing all these people. You should still advertise with us to hit those 50% of people that haven't been to like, multiple football games or whatever.
Got it. So they were hoping for a substantial number of, I only watch roller derby ever.
Yep.
Folks.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Skaters. The skaters' gender. Women make up 95% of active roller derby skaters.
Get it, girls.
So I don't know. Maybe men's has increased since then. Again, this is really old data. So, you mentioned men's leagues and stuff. So maybe it's grown. Who knows? But at least in 2011, it was 95% female.
That's wild. That's wild.
Yeah.
Again, it just seems so violent and dumb. And that, like, why are women into this? Why are women doing this?
The stereotype, because men are usually stereotyped to be the violent and dumb ones.
It really does. It really does. I also wonder if women might be like naturally better at it, because women do tend to be shorter and not as top heavy. And like in a sport where like so much of it is just not falling down, I wonder if they're like better at it. Interesting.
Yeah. I wonder how the co-ed teams do, like, who maybe the jammer's a woman to like sneak through, got to be smaller and get through the line.
You do want the little zippy, speedy, slippery one to be the jammer.
Yeah. You could pick a little twink to do that if you wanted.
Yeah, for sure.
Even though women made up 95% of the skaters, men made up 59% of volunteers, including referees. So
that's awesome.
there was that isn't that interesting that there's a substantial number of men that still like participated or volunteered in some way.
Yeah, apparently Derek was like a ball girl or something for some in Iowa and in France or whatever.
Yeah, he did something with passes. I don't know. He explained it to us and I listened halfway.
Yeah.
Which is what happens when Derek talks to me. The sexuality.
But now hold on. We know that. I wonder how many of those volunteers are gay though, because Derek is gay as hell. Like you could think that there's a story of like dudes that are there to like maybe get to rub down the hot chicks like we were talking about before, and maybe that's why they're volunteering, or maybe it's just a bunch of gays who like to be near the violence. I don't know.
I would be a participant. Yeah, I would want to be near but not be a part of the violence. So I could see the male volunteers being gay.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I don't have data on that, unfortunately. The sexuality of the skaters. This is what we really want to know. 24% of adult female skaters identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or other, meaning 76% identify as straight.
Sure.
So they are even slightly, but even gayer than the fans. And almost 1 in every 4 adult female skaters are some kind of gay.
Yeah. Which is overrepresented, right? Like it's not the 95% that of the gender breakdown, but it is like more than you might expect for any random activity.
Yes, more than you would expect for a random activity. But I wonder if people's assumption is that everyone is gay when it's the majority of people are straight. Like,
yeah,
I wonder if that bucks some people's assumption that just they see any kind of woman playing a sport and they're just like, oh, she must be a lesbian.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. That's the gayta.
Well, thanks, Kyle.
Yeah, no problem.
It seems like there's gayta for almost everything, you know?
I did look at for like research, more formal research studies, like in a peer reviewed journal or whatever, and did not come up with any. There was one that was like body image issues and roller derby. And I was like, that seems like too like, oh, it's women, so we're going to talk about body image, you know, like I just didn't want to like that to be the only connection is, oh, it's a women's sport, so of course we're going to talk about body image. I don't know. I just didn't want to do that. So luckily that's why I'm using this kind of older data, because there's no newer research studies published that were that interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your distillation services.
Sure, no problems. Distill whatever you want.
Well, I want to talk to you about this interesting thing that I had never really considered before, that I think roller derby is uniquely positioned to explore. So I'm going to talk about Australian roller derby, specifically the Skate Victoria group, which actually is an insurance body. And about 70% of Australia's roller derby players are covered by Skate Victoria insurance.
So I didn't think about, do you need additional insurance when you do roller derby because you might break shit?
You do in Australia, apparently.
Wow.
Now roller derby in Australia is also mostly played by women. And starting in like 2011 or so, there was this uptake in mixed gender competitions that popped up. So the newly organized leagues in Brisbane, Adelaide, Canberra, and Perth all like added co-ed versions. And a lot of those specifically marketed themselves as being queer friendly. So it was, you know, men and women can do roller derby. And we think that, you know, gay or straight, come one, come all. But hopefully that like gay men would get involved was sort of the idea. Now, a lot of men, gay and straight, started participating. And so then it was in 2016, that Skate Victoria decided to, for insurance reasons, citing safety, they sent out changes that said, quote, no single team can have a ratio of more than 50% males on their team. And teams may not play more than 2 male members per jam during co-ed play. So more and more men got involved, and the leagues themselves were dealing with that however they wanted to deal with that. But it got to be enough men that people were worried that they were not just becoming too many of them, but that they were also potentially a safety hazard for the women that were involved in the sport because of size and strength, I suppose. And this was meant to help insurance rates, but then became part of the rule set for all of these leagues by extension.
I wonder if that's actually true, if that was actually happening, or if that was just the assumption that men would injure women more often.
It's a great question. I think,
like, I wonder if implicitly we're just saying like, oh, men are going to be better at this, and that's going to be hurtful to women. Like, I wonder if we're making some kind of skill assumption as well.
Well, you're asking a super interesting question, and I'm trying to see if any of that is in here. But ABC News in Australia covered this person named Evelyn Winter, who was a trans woman who started asking, well, what does that mean for trans people? And what does that mean for non-binary people who are participating in these supposedly queer-friendly leagues?
Yeah.
And I think that's fascinating. Like, we're struggling right now in the United States to understand, like, trans women, let's face it, it's only trans women that seem to be getting the brunt of it, participating in women's sports.
Yeah.
And the idea is that, like, testosterone makes our bodies different, and if you were assigned male at birth and went through male puberty, that you have unfair advantages, and that your gender identity doesn't change that, and that we need to compensate for that somehow, blah, 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 blah. But what about when you're talking about a co-ed sport that has limits on the number of men or male bodies that can be involved? It gets really complicated really quickly.
I mean, does it? Because if you say 50% men, trans women are women, so it'd be cis and trans men that you'd have to worry about being 50%. I don't know. It seems pretty straightforward if you just know that trans people are the gender they identify with.
Well, so Varsity Derby League's Jessica Robbins said, quote, "For my league in particular, but most of the leagues across Australia, we have very close ties with the queer community here in Canberra. So it's one of those things where it's normal for us to have people that don't identify as a binary and don't necessarily want to act that way, and have a sport that's split by gender lines. If you're not exposed, I guess you might not see why it would be a problem." So you're right that part of this equation is simple. Trans men are men, trans women are women. And if you're going to have a ratio, then have a ratio. And the person's gender identity is determinative of which bucket they belong in. Yeah. What about non-binary folks when you have written into the fabric of the rules and the way it's administered a binary?
Well, it seems like no more than 50% men, then that'd be easy. But non-binary women don't count, or non-binary people don't count as men. So
yeah. Okay.
I don't know. But it seems straightforward in interpreting this to me.
So your answer to that would be then that mask presenting non-binary folks wouldn't count towards the men in the count for the purpose of the rules and for the insurance and all of that.
Correct. They said no more than 50% men, and non-binary people are not men, so they're not included in that percentage.
Well, so
because if what they're worried about is that someone may injure someone, like what about there are 6'7" women out there, cis women, that if you're worried about someone being like, what are you really worried about? You know, some cis women have more testosterone in their bodies than others. Like, do we need to measure everyone's testosterone levels? And, you know, like, I think when you break it down, a lot of times, like, are you actually worried about men? Or are you worried about like height and size? In which case some rules may need to apply to cis women too.
Yeah. So this Jessica Robinson person wrote this very long email to Skate Victoria saying, um, uh, among other things, quote, "Gender is not a reflection of skills, fitness, rules knowledge of physical size. It is a skill disparity and fitness/tiredness which increase injury risks, not gender. Forcing skaters to publicly identify their gender to the opposition or the officials prior to a game is not appropriate and directly contradicts the gender identity and participation sections of the SV member protection policy. And the fact that the policy document only names the male gender as a restricted gender infers that female players are somehow weaker, less able, and incapable of making their own decisions regarding participating, which is discriminatory, sexist, and insulting." I guess after all of that, then the insurer changed. They sent another email saying that they were pleased to announce that there would be no gender restrictions on the mixed version of the sport after all. Quote, "We trust that we will continue to develop injury prevention programs and provide a safe environment for participation to ensure the future sustainability of all categories of competition." And Jessica said, they made a mistake. It's since been rectified. I don't think they realized that it would be an issue, which was the problem, because they didn't ask anyone. We couldn't point it out. So it turned into a much bigger thing than it should have. We're not out to trash Skate Victoria. It just caught us all off guard. We reacted with some anger, but it's been resolved now. So the correct solution, at least for the people that are involved here who had this negotiation, was just, let's have gender not matter, and let's focus on safety and the things that factor into safety, and not have it be about gender expression, or what's between your legs.
That seems like too easy, maybe because it's not America, that it worked out like this. Like a gender-based policy that was kind of unfair and a little bit discriminatory came up, and then people were like, hey, that's unfair and discriminatory, and they were like, okay, we'll change it, and then it changed, and then everyone was happy.
Yeah, and that was in 2016, so this has been in place for like 8 years now. I didn't look to see if there's been any change or further development in that since then. But I do think that other countries are better at this than we are, at like having a disagreement and then everybody like kind of making the right decision and shaking their heads and walking away instead of digging their heels in and being a dickbag about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow,
way to go, Australia.
Yeah, way to go, Australia. So that's the like gender binary in a co-ed sport thing that I wanted to talk about. You said you had some quotes?
Yeah. Why do you think this attracts queer people? Because I don't really know the answer. I was like, maybe it's just the foundation of this has been intentionally inclusive, like from the start. It's worked hard to be inclusive of queer players and audience members. Like maybe it's just baked into the kind of fabric of this sport, but I don't get why this sport is so heavily queer people.
It might have something to do with just the fact that it isn't one of like America's favorite pastimes, mainstream, right? Like it's quirky. It's a little bit off the beaten path. And like we've said before, queer people sort of have this permission to do the not mainstream thing just by virtue of the fact that we don't have a mainstream sexual orientation or gender identity or both.
Yeah.
And like, so maybe because it's weird and we get to be weird.
That's true. I like that theory. I maybe we like to see women that are doing tough things and tough sports. And, this is, I think, one of the few places that I can think of where you see women fucking ramming into each other and being badasses.
And maybe it, although very violent at times, I think it does rely a lot on finesse in a way that like a lot of other sports don't. I don't know. That's just I don't know where I'm going with this, but like roller skating is kind of gay. Like
it is kind of gay. Like my image, when I picture someone roller skating, I do see a gay man in like really short shorts, like hot pants, and a tank top skating down LA. Like,
Yep. Absolutely.
With bright neon colors.
Yep. And so like this, like now make a sport out of it. I think that gayness kind of like gets sucked in.
Yeah. Suck it in.
Suck in the gayness, everybody.
Okay, some quotes from queer people playing roller derby. This is from a Pink News article from 2018 by Amy Ashenden. The person she was talking to is Yasmin Zadeh, who is non-binary.
Zeddy.
Zadeh. They said roller derby is, quote, amazing because it's got one of the most progressive trans policies of any sport. When I first started training with the other players, it was just such a welcoming space, an atmosphere I've not found anywhere else.
Okay.
Lucy Bairstow, who is bisexual and pansexual.
And a bear.
And stows away everywhere. And said, quote, roller derby is a queer community because it's a space that is not dictated by the male gaze. For me, that feels very liberating physically and mentally. It is a queer sport. It brings together women and non-binary people, and there's something physical people can become a part of.
I buy that.
Another article that I wanted to read some quotes from is a Huffington Post article from 2016 by James Michael Nichols. And they interviewed derby player Margot Atwell. And Margot said, even today, there aren't enough positive role models to young queer people, but the derby community is full of happy, healthy, out queer people. Queer people suffer from rejection, isolation, anxiety, and other serious issues. Find a community and a healthy outlet to stay active and relieve stress can be life-saving for a young person or any person. And what this makes me think of is if it started queer or if it draws queer people, there is some kind of self-fulfilling or self-fulfilling part of that, then, oh, it's queer. So can be myself there. So I'm more likely to join, which is more likely to make it more queer. So it just kind of perpetuates itself.
Yeah. Like a lot of gay bars became gay bars just because any bar is a gay bar if you bring enough friends. And like maybe we've just like taken over the sport, or there's a critical mass that makes it's gay because it's gay.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That's not a fulfilling answer because I want there to be like, here are the tangible reasons why, but it just might be gay because it started off gay and it kept being gay.
Yep.
Lastly, Margot also said, quote, the roller derby community is such a healthy, positive place for women and queer women especially. Roller derby teaches women and girls to value our bodies for what they can do, not what they look like. Skaters are supportive of others with wildly different senses of style, gender presentation, and sexualities. As long as you're a good teammate and you're working hard, you're part of the family.
Oh,
which I like that idea of like you're using your body for something other than looks, and maybe a bigger body is useful if you're a blocker, for example. Like it doesn't just reward traditional female body types, and you don't have to have just one body type to play this sport or to be involved or to exist here.
Yeah. I buy that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there's some reasons that, and maybe it's just kind of gay because it was gay. Maybe
like, I don't know, maybe in some like parallel universe, it was just foretold. Like a bunch of gays went back in time and said, we're gonna own this shit from the beginning.
This is ours. This is ours now, and we belong here. Fuck everyone.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Well, during the Patreon segment, I'm going to talk to you about Roller Derby the musical.
Okay, I'm excited to hear about that.
Like, how could we make it even gayer?
Let's turn it into a fucking musical. Yeah,
let's turn it into a fucking musical. But first, I in the main segment here, I wanted to talk about our local roller derby, the one that I'm pretty sure you and I saw together.
Okay, maybe, probably, yeah. Okay.
The Rat City Roller Girls. So they're no longer known as the Rat City Roller Girls. Oh. They are now known as Rat City Roller Derby, a change that they made because they wanted to be more inclusive of
good for them,
of other identities. So it was created in 2004. So It's called Rat City Roller Girls or Rat City Roller Derby because Rat City is a nickname for White Center, which is a neighborhood just south of me, right here in West Seattle. And they caught this like latest uptick in popularity of roller derby.
I didn't know White Center was called Rat City.
Yeah,
I wonder why.
I don't know either.
Huh.
And reading their about page, it's ratcityrollerderby.com, and says, quote, "We moved from skating in a small rink in White Center to selling out Key Arena, which is now Climate Pledge Arena." And really what I wanted to talk about, though, is just their names. Like it is sort of a roller derby tradition for them to pick a stage name, much like drag. And there are some exceptions. There are some leagues where there's been a trend toward using their real names instead.
Boo, boring.
Boo, boring, exactly. But what I love about these names is the best roller derby name is simultaneously feminine and violent. Like, it needs to be metal as fuck and a pun or a double entendre of some kind. I fucking love roller derby names.
Dr. Beverly Crush Her.
Yes. Fuck yes, Kyle. Fuck yes. So these are the founding members of the Rat City Roller Girls. There's Dixie Drag Strip, Raise Hell, RAE' Hell, and Hurricane Lily. They were the three who really, really got the whole thing going. And then the founding league members were Andromeda Sprain, Ann Munition, Astro Glide, Barely Legal, Betty Ford Galaxy. That's a deep cut. Billy Boilermaker, Bruce Lee, Cherry Jubilee, Clobberin' Mame, Daisy Mayhem, Darcy Rant, Darth Skater, Dirty Little Secret, Drew Blood, Edie Brickwall, great. Electric Fanny, Hideous Braxley, Ida Slapter, Jinx, Joan Jetta, Joanna Ass Kickin', Kitty Kamikaze, Lady Di, Lil Hateful, Lisa Lawless, Lorna Boom, Macy Stars, Mama Cherry, Pam Opticon, Rebel Bell, Redig to Rumble, Robin Yo Life, Ruby Attitude, Strobe Lightning, Sybil Unrest, Tosh Ya Round, and Zombie Girl. And those were the original founding league members for Rat City Roller Girls. Some of my favorite names that have popped up since: Anne Smashaway, Blaze of Lori.
Oh, that's a good one.
Carmen Get Some. They're just so good, Kyle.
Yeah.
Do you know what you would want your Rat City Roller Girl name to be?
Could I make some kind of Kyle Getz-her? I don't know. No, I don't have a good one off the top of my head. What's yours?
Well, so let's see. Yours would have to have like something to do with like Nutella or rosé. I think rosé.
Oh.
Rosé.
Rosé Glass Smasher.
Yeah.
What would yours be? Michael John-stun?
What would it be?
Michael John-stun?
John-stun?
Because you're jamming him?
Sure. Jam. I don't know if I would be a jammer. I think I'm too big of a human.
Oh. I'm
not a slippery twink, Kyle.
Michael John-stun. So you put stun at the end.
I like that. Let us know what your Rat City Roller Girl name would be. What your roller derby name would be, everybody. I want to point out that the Rat City Roller Derby is on for the 2025 season. Their opening is in it's season 19. Ooh. It's a home team doubleheader on January 25th, coming up at the Edmonds Community College Seaview Gym. Doors are open at 4, and they will have first whistle at 4:45. So if you want to come out and support Rat City Roller Derby and what I think is just a fan-fucking-tastic time, you can head there. Also at ratcityrollerderby.com, you can find links to other leagues that might be nearer to you.
We got other things going on January 25th.
Yeah, we do.
Secrets.
It's a secret.
I'm going to do an Ask Reddit. This was posted to Actual Lesbians by Can't Cook Mexican Food. And the question was roller derby?
Hold on, Kyle.
Hold on. Okay.
I was taking a drink of wine.
Uh-huh.
And I heard lesbians and I heard Mexican food.
Mm-hmm.
And roller derby? I'm very confused about the context here. Is that...
That's just their Reddit username. That doesn't have anything to do with roller derby.
Got it. Now I'm with you. I'm back.
Okay. You're here. You're here with me. The lesbian thing was, it was posted to the subreddit Actual Lesbians.
Oh. Is there a subreddit for fake lesbians?
Hold on. Let me tell you.
r/fake lesbians.
If you, it's one of those things. It's probably like, if you can think of it, it exists. Fake why is the mask working? Lesbians. Yes, I'm over 18. Fake lesbians is banned. This subreddit was banned due to being unmoderated.
What?
Wow. What went down with fake lesbians?
Now I want to know, don't you?
There's some lesbian drama that happened. Interesting. It didn't tell you any more than that.
That's not what we're here to talk about.
No, sorry. Okay. The post was roller derby. I was really drunk last Sunday morning and managed to convince one of my male friends to take me to his roller derby club in the next couple weeks. They have a fresh meat thing where they teach you how it all goes if you're a complete beginner. I've been Whippet. I've seen Whippet and I can't roller skate, but I've done some stalking and it looks fun. Does anyone know anything about it? If you can't roller skate, I'm worried about you doing this. But anyway, one person, apparently no one had my same concerns when they read that they can't roller skate, because the first person said, do it. It's an awesome sport full of alternative and interesting people, though roller derby is very dangerous. Being gay and in derby is no big deal at all. The ratios are definitely skewed in the lesbian direction.
Yeah. It does seem like maybe not a great place to learn how to roller skate.
Yeah. I get the fresh meat is for beginners, but maybe get your roller skating down first before you go to the fresh meat thing, where then you learn how to roller derby. I don't know. I've never been, so I don't know that for sure, but yeah.
Yeah. This is what we call an informed guess.
Yep. Someone else said, my sister-in-law is a derby girl. She broke her leg. Looks fun, but can be dangerous. Learn to skate well and how to fall first before you hit the track. Good luck and have fun. Okay, so someone is echoing what we say, learn to skate and how to fall, which is interesting because don't fall on your wrists. Yeah,
well, I think you wear pads on your elbows and you fall elbows first. Maybe, Derek, mm-hmm. Is that true? Yeah,
Derek
fall on your elbows.
Maybe. Someone else said,
I love that we made Derek do a whole ass episode on Japan, a thing he knows nothing about, and now he's apparently a roller derby expert, and he's sitting there in silence.
Our planning doesn't necessarily make sense, but it's ours.
Yeah, that's right.
Someone said, I will try to find the article, but derby is currently one of the only sports where women's leagues are the default. If it's a men's league, it will be billed as men's roller derby. That piece tickles me, as I hate the women's modifier in sports, which I think that's interesting. Yeah, if you say roller derby, I assume women in my head. I'm picturing women.
Yeah. About the only time that happens by default for you, Kyle.
Yep. Rarely do I picture women. Someone said, I spent 5 years in derby until my career-ending concussion. It was amazing. Met some of my best friends and had the most fun of my life thus far. do it. Make sure you buy a good helmet. Which all of these people are like, I almost fucking died, or I injured myself completely. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. 5 stars would do again.
Yeah. So I feel like football has had this come to Jesus moment of like, footballers get concussions all the time and they can't, that's really harmful to them. We need to monitor this more. There was that movie that Will Smith was in, and I like started believing that football is a brutal sport that maybe shouldn't be played. Do I need to worry about roller derby too? Should we play roller derby if you can get concussions from it?
Well, okay, hold on. There's a lot of things you can get a concussion from, Kyle. You probably get a concussion from driving a go-kart or certain kinds of blowjobs, but I don't think that just the possibility of concussion is necessarily enough to preclude an activity or a sport. We would have to look at it and see, like, is it a lot of concussions in roller derby? Does this happen often? I think there's probably a lot of broken bones just because their limbs are like all over the place, and then they fall down and like people land on them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did see on the Rat City Roller Derby website that they always are on the lookout for volunteers with medical experience.
Oh God.
to help be, on hand to help the injuries. So
yeah,
I don't know, but they always wear helmets, and I don't see them like fall head first very often. But then again, maybe it's super as dangerous, and like I don't know.
Would you ever play roller derby?
I might try it. Sure. Why not? I think that it's the kind of thing that, like, I feel like it might be okay, or it might be something I was accidentally good at. Like, there are many things that I know I am bad at. This one could go either way.
Yeah.
I'm pretty light on my feet. I'm an okay roller skater. I used to rollerblade to band in college. That was the nerdiest thing I could have said. So I don't know. How about you? You want to give it a shot? Should we do it together?
Should we go to a fresh meat thing and try?
I mean, yes, but that's different than the roller derby thing.
That's at the Eagle. Yeah. So I think we confirmed that it is skews lesbian, but it's not only lesbians that make up the audience or the players or the audience. And it's dangerous, but it's very queer friendly.
Just like Lilith Fair. Everything you said applies to Lilith Fair.
Oh yeah, this is our episode about Lilith Fair. Thanks for listening.
Did we do it? We talked about roller derby.
Yeah, I think so.
Did we talk about it enough?
For knowing nothing, I talked to talk an hour about, this is our show, I guess, to talk an hour about a subject I knew nothing about, 2 days ago. I'll consider that an achievement.
I do too. It's great.
It's great.
We should write a book.
Oh my God, we did. Gayishpodcast.com/book.
Buy it,
please.
You already spent all your money on your Christmas presents, so you don't have that as an excuse anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Buy yourself something nice.
Oh God, Kyle. Okay, well, let's take a break.
Break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We're going to do our Gayest and Straightest.
But first, I'm so excited, Kyle.
About what?
We just, in the Patreon segment, we started planning Gayish the musical, and it makes me so happy.
I'm so excited about Jonathan's journey.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's gonna be lit.
It's gonna be epic. Yep.
All right. Hey, buy our book, everybody. That would help us.
We have a book coming out. I don't know if we've told you or if we have an ad running across every episode when you play it. We do. But we wrote a book and we're really excited about it.
Although we also have Podbean ads running on every episode, which I don't think up to us. I think Podbean just it runs non-consensual ads sometimes.
Yeah, and pays us not enough money for them.
Yep.
But anyway, the book is about gay stereotypes. Every chapter is about a different gay stereotype. We write about things like gaydar and iced coffee and the gold star gay and having brothers, all gay stereotypes that we will tell you whether they are true or not.
Yep. And it's also kind of funny sometimes.
Sometimes, I hope so.
You'll like it.
If you want to pre-order it, you can go to gayishpodcast.com/book, and there are links to buy it on Amazon or other places. And it comes out January 21st. So pre-order your copy now.
Pre-order your copy now.
Yeah.
Local gay bar review.
Ooh.
Okay. This time I'm going to talk to you about a bar in Tokyo, Japan called Dragon Men.
Dragon Man. I want to I don't know what that means, but I want a Dragon Man.
It's like I was promised Go-Go Boys. This is the thing. So I was like, where are the places that are gay that accept foreigners, because that's a thing in Japan, that is open and has nudity. So I went to Dragon Men. And my notes, so it was a really big space. Like most bars in Japan are really teeny tiny. They're like literally maybe 8 people could fit into them. But this was actually like a big space, and that stood out. But there were no Go-Go Boys. It was just incredibly crowded. And I don't know, it seemed oppressed or something. Like nobody was dancing. Everybody was just kind of standing around like nervously. And then like there was this one person who was like dancing and like then took off like a shirt and was like dancing, and he wasn't even from Japan. He's from the Philippines. And I think boyfriend summed it up when he turned to me at one point and said, "This place makes me sad."
Oh no.
2 dildos.
Okay. How did it earn 2?
Well, one dildo, you get 1 dildo for not burning down while I'm there. And I mean, literally the building on fire. And then, the other is we had a lovely conversation with this boy from the Philippines, and we had a couple of good cocktails, finally found a seat. It was pleasant.
Okay. There were some redeeming qualities to it.
Yep, absolutely. Well, speaking of redeeming qualities, our website is gayishpodcast.com.
We are on social media at Gayish Podcast, or if you want to find out where you can get our Facebook group or download our Discord, you can go to gayishpodcast.com/contact.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails, especially if it's your gayest and straightest, is 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rates apply.
Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
Our physical mailing address, to which I have lost the key, is P.O. Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109.
Oh, no. Uh-oh. Well, send us stuff if you want, I guess. We may never receive it, but...
Yep.
Gayest and Straightest?
Wait, did I give my key to Derek and you have the other key and you should give it to me?
I can. No. Do you want me to check right now?
No, check later. You can tell me. Derek says no. He knows my life better than I do, and I know your life better than you do.
It's the chain of command.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Gayest and Straightest, sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
You want me to go first?
Sure.
Great. So the straightest thing about me this week is, Christmas is coming up, and we've agreed not to buy each other anything like crazy, but that it's okay to buy things for the house since we need things for the house. So the straightest thing about me this week is shopping for weed whackers.
You need to own one of those because you have a yard.
Yeah, exactly. And is it a weed whacker or is it there's another term? I call it a weed whacker, but I also see a weed. Oh God.
I call it a weed whacker.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And then the gayest thing about me this week is there are 2 other gays at work. And we talked all about my interior decorating options for the chandelier over my dining room table. And it just felt very gay for us to suddenly like find each other.
Yeah. Did you find a chandelier?
I don't know. We looked at a bunch and they said a bunch of links and they weighed in on their opinions. And now I've got to like decide what I think and then talk to boyfriend, you know.
No, the whole rigmarole.
It's a process, Kyle.
Yeah, for sure.
How about you? What's your gayest and straightest this week?
My gayest is wearing my rainbow shirt that has the Obergefell v. Hodges text on it.
Yeah, fantastic. I hope it lasts.
We'll see. Yeah, if that gets overturned, we may have to burn that in a fit of rage or something. I don't know.
That's a YouTube video that might get some clicks.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Although burning it would seem like I'm okay with. Anyway, maybe I won't burn this shirt. My straightest is that I'm down to the end of my laundry, so I'm starting to get to like the shirts that I don't normally wear.
Yep. Yeah. I get that. I hear that.
I need to do some laundry and be on top of my housework, which I am not right now.
There was a time when we had a lot more gayish merch on hand, and I definitely, more than one occasion, just like wore some merch instead of doing laundry.
This merch is mine now.
Yeah.
We have a listener's, not a gayest and straightest, but an update on their gayest and straightest.
We asked for an update, and he delivered.
Yeah, here it is.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Kyle. This is Sebastian from Colorado. Thank you for featuring my gayest and straightest. I was very surprised that it got up there, and I would like to give an update. The cute guy did text me back, and we actually are going on a weekend little thing to some hot springs. So, yeah, things are looking good. You guys keep on doing what you're doing, and have a good day. Bye.
Okay, Sebastian, here's what I want you to do.
What?
I want you to like figure out a way. No, there's no doing this nonchalantly. You just got to fucking own it. Make it so that this boy hears this. Hey, guy that Sebastian is going to a hot springs with this weekend. Sebastian's great.
Yeah.
You should put out.
Pull out your dick. No matter where you're hearing this, pull out your dick right now and get down to it.
Yeah. I hope that helped.
I hope never say we didn't do anything for you.
Right. Yeah.
I hope y'all have a good time.
Thanks for the update.
Yeah. Thanks for the update.
And thanks to everybody who roller derbies.
Yeah. Thanks to all the lesbians.
Roller derbiers.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What?
Is that a euphemism for a lesbian?
Oh,
I bet she plays roller derby.
I bet she roller derbies. I bet she's a jammer.
Yeah.
And I also want to thank our super gap bridgers. Thank you to Locomotives, Simon Surashi. Boy, I really need to learn how to pronounce your last name. Hit me up, Simon, with the pronunciation of your last name. Surachi. Kaylee Adams, Kid Oliver, Kobe Gordon, Squoggle, Pip, Andrew Bugby, William Bryant, John Crowley, Yost Osel, Jonathan Montañez, Forrest Nail, Steve Douglas, Explosive Lasagna, Michael Covington, Just Jamie, Thomas B, Dusty Sands, A. Coleman, Chris Cacciatorians, and Jerome York. Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your money. That is it from the Chris Cacciatorian Studios. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you.
See you next week. See you next year.
See you next year. Oh my God.
Yeah.
The next time we're going to talk to you is in 2025.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh my God, Kyle.
What?
I totally forgot to say. I was going to say when I did the news that like we're recording this super early. So like if some like super obvious mega gay thing hits, that's why we don't talk about it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Is that worth? I don't. It's fine. Everything's
fine. Yeah.
Right.
I'll splice it in somewhere, or maybe not. Who knows? We'll see how I'm feeling.
Great. Excellent.